All right, I'm not saying that the White House is in a position where it's worried about this Iranian deal falling apart. They've already calculated that in Congress they're not going to get the votes of support, but they're also confident that Congress won't muster the votes to override a likely presidential veto. But they are bringing in their big guns here to try to keep this thing going and sold amongst any doubters. The Energy Secretary, for example, taking questions from reporters at a usual Josh Earnest briefing. But he had an uphill fight. A normally compliant media now challenging him on the details of that, and talk now that Iran is saying that, it's still bellicose, still saying that we're fools, you know the drill, that we're not living up to our own deals, and they have a different interpretation of this deal. And that everyone should give up their arms. So obviously they're digging in, and we are scrambling to former Pentagon spokesman J.D. Gordon on this, because, J.D., on top of that, you now have Senator Ted Cruz is saying, you know what you should do? Just delay this vote, because now we've got news of these side deals that, Secretary Kerry didn't even know that much about. So just delay. I don't know how likely that is, but do you think this thing's falling apart?
Hi, Neil. Good to see you. Well, I think the Congress ought to have 60 days to have all the materials to look at them. Look, these side deals are horrific. They basically deal with access to Parchin military base, where Iran's conducted nuclear weapons research, and Iran's past nuclear activity. So Iran just basically wants to send in soil samples, and they don't want inspectors to do the inspecting at Parchin, even though we believe... By the way,
J.D., that was their interpretation of the deal. So obviously they came away from this deal with a very different impression of what is their responsibility versus the United States. And they also came away with the understanding, if you have problems with us and you want to inspect these facilities, A, we don't want Americans part of that inspection team, and B, you just can't barge in on us. You have to give us 24 days notice. That is sticking in the craw of a lot of Democratic and Republican congressmen, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, Secretary Kerry says trust but verify. How can you verify if they have 24 days to clean up whatever they're doing? You know, Neil, I think it's interesting to point out we have all the cards here in the U.S. and EU. We are economic and military giants compared to Iran. The U.S. and NATO budget together is about $1 trillion a year for our military, right? Iran is $10 billion. We have all the cards here. So
well, you never know that. You never know that, to your point. But I'm beginning to wonder whether the administration is playing a counter game on this. Again, whether you agree or disagree with this deal, trying to strong-arm people into it by saying, you know, it has been ratified and approved unanimously in the United Nations Security Council. So we look bad if you don't go along at this point, if we balk, because they're all in. What do you make of that?
I think it just shows weakness. Look, Neville Chamberlain tried the same type of weak approach, and that didn't work out very well either. I think we have to keep up sanctions. That's what brought Iran to the table in the first place. To just let them off the hook now and to let them get nuclear weapons is really going to be a nightmare for the world. It's going to start a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. It could spell the end of Israel. It's going to be a big problem for world security and for us coming down the road. So I think we really have to act tough and keep up sanctions until the regime changes their attitude or the regime changes.
All right, J.D., thank you very, very much. J.D. Gordon, former Pentagon spokesperson. We should build a little bit on that Cruz comment to try to delay a vote on this. So far, he's not gotten much extended support from some of his colleagues here, but it is still early. But he is now saying that, look, since you've changed the deal and you have these side deals, and the clock starts at that 60-day point at which all this information comes to the table. Well, we just got news of the sidebar deals here, and so it starts when we get that info. It's a good, logical, legal argument, and we'll see what happens. Meantime, Rand Paul has said that Donald Trump's popularity is a moment of insanity, that this is proof that we're all going insane, and those who support him, like him, are enthralled by him. It's insanity, and it will pass. Really. After this.